for giving me a like and a shout out. Like I told you in the truck, I was going to do an impression of you. But I didn't have, in the truck, I didn't have any fireplace and a recliner. Dog, not needed. Fireplace and recliner needed. Coffee, untoasted toast, you pretty much already, all right? A little bit of background is required for a normie impression because, after all, he is the greatest. That wasn't it. In order to do a normie impression, you need to know a little bit about his brother. I researched his brother heavily via Wiki. Neil MacDonald, born 1957, age 62 to 63. Come on, Wiki. He's a Canadian. From Quebec. Nationality, Canadian. Alma mater, Algonquin College. Occupation, journalist. Aren't we all? Spouses, Joyce Napier. You're seeing her on TV. Relatives, Norm MacDonald, parentheses, younger brother. Early life and family. MacDonald was born and raised in Quebec City. His father was Percy MacDonald, who served with the Canadian Army during World War II and helped liberate the Netherlands. His mother, Fern MacDonald, you saw her telling jokes this week. His brother is comedian, actor, Norm MacDonald. He is married to Joyce Napier, a parliamentary bureau chief for the CTV News. Career. After graduating from Algonquin, After graduating from Algonquin College in Ottawa, MacDonald worked first as a print journalist. He joined the CBC in 1988 and covered Canadian Parliament for approximately a decade. He then served for 5 years, 1998 to 2003, as the network's chief Middle East correspondent. MacDonald was involved in a public dispute with Canadian media mogul Leonard Asper in 2003. Asper had accused MacDonald of being anti-Israeli. After taking exception to some of the CBC's Middle East coverage, MacDonald responded with a rebuttal in the Globe and Mail, accusing Asper of defamation and alleging editorial censorship in the Asper-owned CanWest media outlets. In November 2010, MacDonald led a CBC investigation into the United Nations International Independent Investigation Commission and the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, which had been mandated with solving the murder of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. The report uncovered documents suggesting that UN investigative body had strong evidence to link the Shia parliamentary group Hezbollah to the 2005 bombing that killed Hariri. And the UN had not acted on this intelligence due to diplomatic concerns. MacDonald's report also sharply criticized the performance of the Special Tribunal's head prosecutor Daniel Bellemare, who responded that he was extremely disappointed with the report. In 2014, MacDonald harshly criticized Lyndon McIntyre, a former CBC employee, after McIntyre had made comments about the CBC in regard to the incident. In 2015, we're getting closer to present day. Woo! Not you. In 2015, MacDonald moved back to Canada after 17 years in the United States, 12 of which he spent in Washington, D.C. as a Washington bureau correspondent for The National. MacDonald continues to produce editorial articles for the CBC's website, as well as appearing as a senior correspondent in The National. Awards. 2004, MacDonald received a Gemini Award. Gemini. For his reportage on political violence and hate. He was awarded the second best reportage Gemini in 2009 for his coverage of the U.S. 2007 economic crisis. References. Upon which okay, so you get it. So basically, that's some background on his brother. And now I'm going to step aside and let the fireplace take over as we prepare for the Norm impression. You can see the flame if you just use your make-believe. Yeah. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Let us go, then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient egg rise upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells, Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains. Let us fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once upon the house and fell asleep. And indeed, there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate, time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and a tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed, there will be time to wonder, do I dare and do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say, how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie and modest, but asserted by a simple pin, they will say. But how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse. For I have known them already, known them all, have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons, have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying and with the dying fall beneath the music from a further room. So how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all, the eyes that fix you in a formulated phase. And when I am formulated, falling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt ends of my days and ways, and how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl, and should I then presume? How then should I begin? Shall I say I have gone at dusk through the narrow streets and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or rhythm lingers, stretched on the floor, here beside you and me. Should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker. I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker, and in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea? Among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me, would it have been worthwhile to have bitten off the matter with a smile? To have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all. If one settling a pillow by her head should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. Would it have been worthwhile, after the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this and so much more, it is impossible to say just what I mean, but as if a magic lantern threw the nerves and patterns on a screen. Would it have been worthwhile if one settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning toward the window should say, that is not it at all, that is not what I meant at all. No, not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Am not an attendant lord, one that will do to swell progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince no doubt, an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, political, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse, at times indeed almost ridiculous, almost at times a fool. I grow old, I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear the white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. I do not think that they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combining the white hair of the waves blown back. When the wind blows the water white and black, we have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us, and we drown.
As she can be, huh?
Okay.
Well, good. Has Harvey been on? I tried to take her out, see what was going over.
Let's take her out.
I'll take her out now.
Alright, no. Yeah, no. You were taken out when we were leaving.
I never did.
Oh, I thought you did.
I was going to, but she wouldn't go from the cage, so I'm going to take her out.
And then I saw her in the cage. I said, "Where's Dad?" And we already left, so I was a little confused.
Yeah, no, so I didn't take her out. I got to do some Friday. If that's not enough, I'd like to do things like getting the snowblowers started. Hey! Okay? Yeah. And then maybe do the trip to the recycling place. This and that.
Might as well go out and get my medicine.
What?
Might as well do that. And then get my medicine and get my blood done.
Yeah, we can do that.
Hopefully, I think she's there on Friday. Just tell her. Well, there's another thing to do. Whenever. Whenever we have our the office, we used to stay late. Their office is closed. So we never chance to pay them. That's what this is.
Oh, what's the bill?
Okay. That's done every day.
Okay.
Somebody should stop by.
Yeah, okay.
That's true? Well, that's true. That's a solid joke. Took a little ramping up. Pat Sajak returned to Wheel of Fortune after getting emergency surgery. He says he's feeling great, and he just won a brand new scarf. A new study says smoking weed regularly increases men's risk of testicular cancer.
They only give you cash on Wheel of Fortune.
That's not true, is it? They give you cash.
He wanted to wait. To be fair, he wanted to wait and see if you went back and polished that up on your own.
No, I didn't.
When you moved to the next joke.
I know, you had to fix it. Is there a delay on their show? Oh, you like this one. A camel, a cow, and a donkey were found wandering down a Kansas road. They told police, "Hey, we got lost. We were trying to find the setup to a Norm Macdonald joke."
Hey. What's going on here? Don't need none of that. Okay. Where do we leave off? Coffee. Party wants to sit this for 20 minutes to see if, you know what I mean? You the punchline that bad. No, but for real though. Anonymous cameraman, we understand your role, and I don't think it's. I'm trying to think of big words like Neil McDonald. I can't think of one. I don't think it's poking at you if we acknowledge you exist, right? Hello. All right. So as a thank you to Norm, let me back up just so you know the context. So you know the context. I went to the doctor today, and he said, "You are what you eat." So I went home and had a banana. And I'm a banana! So yeah, Norm's mother did that joke, and I thought it was great. I thought it was just delightful. Hashtag mother telling her first stand-up joke, although technically she was, parentheses, sitting. So I said, sitting. I love it, but sitting. And Norm liked it. And I liked that he liked it. And then he gave me a shout-out. So speaking of sitting, I thought, and sitting around and whatnot, I thought I'd do an impression of Normie. Thank you for the shout-out and the like. But in order to do an impression of Norm, first you have to know a little bit about his brother, Neil. We have his background. Now, we're going to present to you his final submission, his final news article submission to cap his career. Questioning what kind of impact his cohort had on the industry and on life. Basically, in order to do a Norm impression, right, you got to do a Neil impression. I'm not really Neil. I'm Raoul. Therefore, I don't really need to tie my tie. Make believe with me, will you? That's right. I was going to do a Chevy impression while we're at it, but that's all right. Neil McDonald. There's one thing I learned. The first one was fine. Should have went. The end of summer always comes. Entropy always prevails, by Neil McDonald. I think a lot about what my cohort accomplished and where it failed, particularly at this time of year. With every passing year, for obvious reasons, the end of summer carries a heavier melancholia. Boy, by the way, this is just one more interruption here. You'll know when to cut. Anonymous cameraman, you'll know when to cut. Also, I might need your help on these bigger words. As you know, you're somewhat of a scholar, and I'm somewhat of a lowly dog walker, so I might need to reach out for you. And Neil's somewhat of a scholar, and Norm's somewhat of a lowly dog walker, or a cat sitter, as it is. So I might need your help on some of the bigger words. Also, you'll know when to cut when I say, let's do it again, and you say, no, cut. All right. In a sense, it's the worst time. It's only just begun where I live in Ottawa. October begins tomorrow. The setting here, by the way, is September 2017. But temperatures have been in the 30s lately, or as I still think of it, the 90s. Does anyone understand liters per 100 kilometers? In the Gatineau Hills near my home, the trees are still green and lush. The palette of oranges and reds and yellows hasn't yet erupted. The park is still and quiet like July. For the moment, at least, entropy seems to have been repulsed. But entropy always prevails. The end of summer always comes. Soon there will be chill, and then rain, and then sleet, and then the entombment of deep winter. It will become difficult to even remember the luxury of warm, easy nights on a hot midday sun. Or a hot midday sun. Do I dare eat a peach? Some of us will experience those things again, others won't. At this time of year and on each birthday, I have a habit of rereading T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. One of the most eloquent statements on entropy ever penned. I remember Pierre Elliott Trudeau quoting it when some reporter accused him of being yesterday's man. I grow old, and shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. Entropy is the most atavistic dread. Atavistic?
Close enough.
Somebody else? It eventually kills everything, even stars. Religions exist because of it, with their promise of everlasting life. If only you have faith and tithe. At Christmas, we cut down and celebrate a totem that seems to stubbornly live and remain green, indifferent to the death around it. Of course, when you are at the apex of your physical and mental power, entropy seems irrelevant, or at least impossibly distant. I remember that. My cohort at its peak was the most powerful economic force in human history. For a time, the baby boomers couldn't imagine a world in which events wouldn't arrange themselves according to their desires. But the boomers are moving out of power, out of the workforce, and out of relevance. The first of them turned 65 in 2010. The youngest are now about 57 years old. We are shuffling arithmetically into twilight to the cheers of Gen Xers and millennials, who will not just morally superior, just as we once did, but cheated for having had to wait so long for their turn. We don't like it. We once embraced the generational affirmation of villains the times they are a-changing, now resent having to get out of the new road if we can't lend a hand. We think we invented physical fitness and wellness, and had mandatory retirement declared unconstitutional, and get work done when wrinkles appear, and talk about 60 being the new 40 and other such nonsense. But we are firmly in entropy's grip, staring at varicose veins and groaning when we stand too quickly. Our parents called it rheumatism and wore copper bracelets as cures, and we have total hip replacements, but it all goes to the same place. Accomplishments and failures. Anyway, I think a lot about what my cohort accomplished and where it failed, particularly at the end of summer. I think we did a lot of good. We were the engine of the transgenerational welfare state and its expansion. We tried hard to break our conservative yokes. We were the hippies and the Rainbow Coalition before it splintered on the rock of identity politics. There has been no world war on our watch. The wall fell and the nuclear doomsday clock backed off, at least for a few decades. We made sex, especially during those wonderful post-pill pre-AIDS years, a democratized legitimate recreation. The more the better. Questioning authority, especially police, something that was regarded as treason by the so-called greatest generation, became a civic value. And we believed, or thought we believed, in free speech, and the idea that the best way to combat offensive speech was to engage in it and win with ideas. It was a time, my gracious, I'm glad to have lived it. But ultimately, we were selfish. Perhaps the most selfish of all, if you believe Tom Wolfe. We were privileged and lucked out on timing. Jobs were easy to find. It seemed all you had to do was show up. We took pensions for granted. We also unleashed the rapaciousness of the free market destruction that nearly ruined the world's economy for a few years ago. We were casually sexist and racist when we started out. I winced just remembering some of the jokes and workplace banter among educated colleagues, me included. And believing only our viewpoints valid, we removed what civility remained from politics, turning it into a form of welfare, where once conservative and liberals argued, they now live in separate neighborhoods and wish each other dead, or at least vanquished and silent. In that sense, we boomers actually helped create the cloying, censorious preciousness in newsrooms and universities nowadays, and the inquisitorial attitudes towards anyone who disagrees with the herds of independent thinkers and their orthodoxies. Speaking hard truths, personally, I prefer Pierre Elliott Trudeau, despite his contempt for my craft, to his mushy, happy-talking son who, along with his cabinet, regularly insults Canadians by pretending to say things of substance, but in fact saying less than nothing. A few weeks ago, I actually found myself nodding as the racist bore in the White House managed to speak a few hard truths to the UN about evil in the world, while our Prime Minister bored everyone. We revolutionized credentialed journalism, then went about killing it. I regret that, although I realized the extent to which our news judgment was laced with ethnocentrism and often plain ignorance. I guess we did okay. Anyway, soon enough, none of it will matter. I wish the incoming keeners well, but I will say this. Sooner than they know, their kids will be child-splaining. They're hateful, racist, exclusionary classes, androcentric, sexist, hegemonic, ageist, privileged, cis-normative thinking. I mean spirited enough to admit that I'll enjoy watching that. Terms like African American and people of color and gender fluid will become anarchisms, replaced by a new parade of descriptors. And those who insist on sticking with what they were taught growing up will be treated with bemusement and eye-rolling. And unless the generation being born now is uniformly multiracial, which it isn't, enthusiasm for racial preferences will evaporate with parenthood. Because self-interest remains the most powerful force after entropy. Ultimately, not much changes. Work in a place like the Middle East, and you begin to understand that. If all this sounds indisciple, at the beginning of the century, I suppose it is. The end of summer does that to me. Soon enough, if I am lucky, I shall wear rolled white flannel trousers and walk upon some beach. And none of this will matter. Hypocrite that I am, I may even begin to notice religion. Cameraman, can you give me a countdown from 10 to my normal impression? Go ahead. 10.
9, 8, 7, 6,
Where's my hat?
5,
I had a hat with a shampoo.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, check out this thing my brother wrote like 2 years ago. Alex, I'll take gang for 1,000 every month for the rest of my life. Where's Kitty? Where's Kitty? Yeah, I know. I need to work on this voice a bit. Oh, I didn't change to my PJ pants. Dang it. I thought I had the essence of Norm down. You know, not so much the voice and the mannerisms, but I thought I had his essence. Like, sitting around, looking like all heck, and repeating jokes that were probably mediocre to begin with. And that's why I love you, Normie. That's why you're the greatest. See you in Columbus. 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 Hey, I think I got Norm's voice down. Let's do it again. You want to do it again?
No way.
No way.